Welcome to Solo Shot First, and today we are going to be having a look at Princess Leia Organa in Boushh disguise. I think that's how you pronounce that, from Star Wars Return of the Jedi. And then what we're also going to do is have a look at my original figure from 1983 and do a comparison. Now, I do know obviously this was... this figure, I think, was also released previously in the Black Series 3.75 line. I'm pretty sure it was. So this one obviously is the re-release with what they class as sort of slightly improved, well, photoreal technology, I suppose. I'm not sure, obviously, how that's worked on this. I don't think looking through the packaging, through the bubble, it looks that bad. But the card back itself is... This is gorgeous. I mean, that's a lovely looking image of obviously Leia in that Boushh disguise, and that is taken straight from the film. Basically, there's either two ways that you can look at that image itself. Either it's from when she brings Chewie in, or obviously when she's sort of creeping down in the night to go and rescue Han. I'm not sure which one that is, actually. If anybody sort of watching this knows that, please sort of let me know in the comments section. I think it probably could be either. Looking at that, I would hasten to guess that it is probably the latter. So when she's sort of going down to rescue Han, quite simply because obviously you can't really see any characters in the background. However, saying that, they could have just obviously used this image quite simply just because that is such a striking image of the figure itself. So the figure in the packaging looks pretty good. A number of accessories there, and obviously I do love the way that they put that helmet in the top piece. So let's have a quick look at the back of the card. So this is VC134. You've got that lovely Star Wars racetrack. Again, the legal information at the bottom. And obviously the other figures that were part of this wave. So you had Sayat Mirai, the Scarif Stormtrooper, the Klaatu Skiff Guard, obviously Leia that we've got here, Enfys Nest, and Luke Skywalker. So VC134. So just coming back to the front, again, so I love that, I just love everything about this card. I can't remember, I mean, obviously I haven't looked at this online, but I'm pretty sure this will probably be a very, very similar card back to the original back in 83. But yeah, striking looking card. As I said, inside the actual packaging, the figure looks pretty good. Not sure on that photo reel, obviously, how realistic that is. But anyway, it's a beautiful card back. Again, if you're a carded collector, obviously this is a must. And this is obviously just so nostalgic for me. Jedi was, well, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, I love all of the films, but it was, I really thought Jedi and this whole thing around sort of Tatooine and Jabba's palace was absolutely superb. So anyway, let's get this figure out of the packaging and we'll have a look. Okay, so here we've got the figure out of the packaging, and a couple of things. I think it's a nice looking figure, don't get me wrong. I do actually quite like the look of this figure. The couple of weird things is the way that I've got her arms there is basically, if I can bring that in and show you, you can't really get those arms any lower than that, which is why you have to sort of maneuver the around the actual elbows, which is a little bit strange. But obviously, this is an older figure, and they've used obviously different parts. And the reason I say that is, in terms of the actual articulation with this figure, obviously you've got articulation at the head, you've got articulation at the shoulders, at the elbows, and I think there is just a swivel in the wrist. There is a swivel just above the waist, but the actual articulation in the legs obviously is very, very limited. It's almost going back to the sort of 5POA. There literally is just movement up and down. But you do have obviously articulation at the knees and at the ankles. In terms of the actual colouring, though, I think the head sculpt is not too bad. It is not the best, but I think a lot of people find it very, very difficult. I don't know, they just don't seem to be able to nail Carrie Fisher. I mean, again, from some angles, you get it, you can definitely see, but in others it just doesn't look anything like her. But Some really nice detailing. I mean, obviously on the back, you've got that lovely sort of soft goods cape, which is a nice addition. And the figure actually does look pretty good. Although, obviously, as I said, the articulation at the legs is just one of the disappointing things. But it's still a nice looking figure. The accessories that you get with it, it comes with this sort of staff or blaster. I always thought it was a blaster, but it's very difficult to sort of tell because you never really sort of saw it being used in the film. But as a child, I always thought it was a blaster. And I would say the one that, which we will look at in a little while, the one that was from 83, it definitely was more reminiscent of a blaster because it actually sort of had a handle, if that makes sense. You get this tiny looking backpack, which just pops on to the back. Not too bad a detailing on that. That's quite nice. And then, of course, obviously you get this extremely iconic helmet. Sorry, my hands are shaking for some reason. Don't know why I can't get that to look any better. But yeah, that's good. Let's see how that fits on. So that's not too bad. Actually, let's get the weapon, etc., in a hand. Okay. So had a little, getting the backpack on, no problem. Obviously, the helmet, no problem at all. Getting that weapon, whatever you want to class it as, into a hand is quite fiddly, just quite simply because these female characters that they are producing, again, in this 3.75-inch line, I know it can't be helped, but the hands are so tiny. Anyway, what we'll do is let's just bring in my original one from childhood, which was a 1983 version from Hong Kong, and we'll put them next to one another. Okay, so there is my original one from 1983. Excuse me, all things considered, that is still in pretty good shape. I mean, there is, if you can see, a little bit of wear on the front of the hair there. But pretty much everywhere else, that has stayed in really good condition. I mean, and if you can just see there on the bottom, Hong Kong 83. So yeah, really nice. Obviously the backpack on this one was included. Let's pop a helmet on. Pop her there. So what I would say is, obviously, the original one was the helmet was sort of slightly oversized. But then I think probably on the newer one, it's probably a little bit smaller and probably a little bit undersized. It probably needed to be somewhere in the middle. But still pretty good. Still, I mean, I absolutely love this figure as a kid. Could never get enough bounty hunters or anything like that. So that is really, really iconic to me. And just to sort of show you, this was the weapon that came with that one in 83, which has stayed in remarkably good shape. And as you can see, there is that sort of handle for it to hold it, which is why I always classed it as a blaster. But I did know that these were, again, a little bit more fiddly to sort of get into the hands. But again, the limbs and everything have actually stood the test of time pretty well. And just scroll out so you can see that. Yeah. So, look, the one on the left, I'm actually quite impressed with it. I've got to be honest. Other than the articulation is a little bit weird on it, and obviously the one on the right, which was my 1983 one, I still think is a fantastic figure, especially considering the time and the age. So, yeah, really, that one I think is actually probably superior to that one, believe it or not. I suppose you could always swap the helmets over. Obviously the articulation on that one's slightly better, but still. Anyway, that was it. I just wanted to get that Leia Boushh open, have a look at that. I think it's not a bad figure. It does. It should have been improved, though. That's the one thing I would say. And that one, obviously, from 1983 is super iconic. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit the like button. If you are new to the channel and you want to subscribe, please do. There'll be plenty more videos coming shortly. If you've got any questions, any comments on this video, please leave them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you, and then I'll answer them as soon as possible. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.